So I'm sure you're here for the same reason I am. I'm really excited about Tenkaichi 4, and I've been going through YouTube over the weekend looking at literally every video I could find talking about the game. I've joined the Budokai Tenkaichi 4 Discord, I've been discussing the game with everybody there, and I've mapped out a wish list for everything I'd like to see, including the character roster, game modes, the combat system, DLCs, stages, all that. I really want the studio developing this game to keep in mind this is not a new game, this is a new installment in the Tenkaichi series. That way everything that made these games so great in the first place are still in this new one, and it doesn't feel like its own thing. The first thing I want to talk about is how important it is to have a cool intro and a cool soundtrack. One of my first memories is watching the Budokai 1 opening at my older cousin Tyler's house, and I'll never forget that. Everyone knows Rock the Dragon, and I mean, it's a classic intro, and for some reason I'll never get tired of it. My other two favorites would have to be the Tenkaichi 1 and Raging Blast 2 intros. They always hype me up before I started playing, and on the other hand, I hate loading up Xenoverse 2. Attention, all Proud Warriors! Like, please shut up. That shit is so loud. Xenoverse 2's music is also really annoying, and it makes me miss the music from Budokai, Budokai Tenkaichi, and Raging Blast. There's really some bangers on those older games, and they make sense for a Dragon Ball series. I'd be really happy if they could bring back some of the classic songs from those games. Another thing I want is crossplay, because it'll give all the platforms a longer shelf life since you'll only have one giant player pool. A good example that I can think of is NBA 2K on PC. Since there's more players on Xbox and PlayStation, PC really falls behind. I mean, it'll be the middle of the day and I still can't find an online match. And I'd hate for that to happen to Tenkaichi 4 on any platform. There's also not a lot of crossplay games I enjoy either, and I hate having to play Fortnite because my buddies don't have PC, so it'd be great if Tenkaichi 4 was cross-platform. The biggest topic is obviously the size of the character roster, and in my opinion, Z and Super should be the only content covered at launch, because even if they do that, they still need a minimum of 112 characters so that Z and Super's Dragon History sagas don't suck. 112 characters is already a lot to ask for, and like I said, that only covers the bare minimum that you need to tell the story of both of those sagas. None of these characters shown on screen can be cut from the roster at launch, and if you try to add Dragon Ball, GT, movies, manga, and specials, it won't work because the sagas are going to be too thin to tell a complete story for any of them because of the time constraints. I don't want Z to just be Goku versus Vegeta, then Goku versus Frieza, Gohan versus Cell, and then Goku versus Kid Buu. They really don't need to spread themselves too thin on this. I mean, the other sagas can just wait to be released as DLCs. And don't get me wrong, I want those other sagas too, but there's just not enough time to cover all that content. I'm also worried that Giants won't be in the game at launch, especially if the roster is only like 70 to 80 characters, which is what a lot of people are predicting, and it does make sense. I just really hope they don't do that because playable Giants are absolutely one of the things that makes Tenkaichi such a great game. It seems like a lot of people want Tenkaichi 4 to implement skill customization, kind of like the capsule system in the OG Budokai trilogy. I mean, it would get rid of all the variations of characters like Goku early and mid, and honestly, I'm against that. I mentioned earlier that I want this game to be a new installment in the Tenkaichi series. I don't want it to feel like its own thing. Plus, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd be worried about the cheese in the new online game modes as well. Preset characters would probably be more balanced, so that's what I prefer. Honestly though, I'd be happy no matter what as long as I can play any variation of any character regardless of if they're preset or if I have to build them myself. There's been some people saying they don't want DLC, and honestly, that's never going to happen. It's just not how the gaming industry works anymore. And besides, if you really think about it, even if they went back to the old model where they release a new game every year, is it really that different than one game being released and supported for several years? Like with the old model, you're still going to be paying $59.99 every year for 3 years. You'll end up paying a little more for DLCs, but it's so similar that it really doesn't even matter. And there's no way they're going to be able to give us all the content we want without DLCs. There's just not enough time. So unless you want this game to suck, we need Bandai Namco to support it for a few years. I want all the content I can get, and I want to play this game for decades, so I just don't see a good outcome if there's no DLCs. So let's get into some of the in-game features. In general, I want the combat to feel like Tenkaichi 3. Obviously, you're going to have fusions, you're going to have transformations. You're going to have beam struggles. You're going to have melee clashes, which is where both players, if they dash at each other at the same time, they have to spin the analog stick and they go into a melee clash. They need to have the high, mid, and low block. They need to have guard breaking that affects the key bar, which is basically like if somebody's really low on key and they try to block a charged up kick or a punch or whatever, they go into like this drained stamina mode where they can't move, and they have to wait for these red bars that appear on screen to fill back up, and they just tap circle to get it to fill faster. Obviously, they're going to have Sonic Sway. They're going to have Heavy Crush. They're going to have Rolling Hammer, Rush Key Wave, Key Eye Cannon, Flying Kick, Lift Strike. They're going to have grab combos. They're going to have Ground Slash, Giant Throw, Snap Vanishing. They're going to need Snap Vanishing combos, which is Snap Vanishing is like whenever somebody is about to hit you with a super attack or they're about to punch you or whatever, if you press block in time or at the right time, then you'll Snap Vanish behind them. And then, like I said, they need Snap Vanishing combos, which is where, say you kick somebody across the map, and then you teleport behind them, you kick them again, then you teleport again, and you keep hitting them like that. They also need to have Small Key Blast, the chargeable Key Blast, and Key Blast deflections. And then in Tenkaichi 3, if you would press left trigger and circle, or like left trigger up on the D-pad and circle, all the characters would have their own skill, but you would either do like Explosive Wave, Wild Sense, Solar Flare, Instant Transmission, Saiyan Soul, Give Me Energy, Sleep, Finish Sign. They need to have all of those in the game. And also I want to see, I want Sparking Mode to still unlock additional hits to each combo. So say you were Goku Super Saiyan 2 and you're in Sparking mode, and then you do a Rolling Hammer combo. Well, if you press triangle at the end of that combo, Goku fires off a Kamehameha. So that one was really satisfying. I love doing that combo, so I really hope that's back in the game. I hope they keep the mechanic where if you're taking a lot of damage, if somebody's rushing you, you can press L1 and it'll do an explosive wave. Now you'll still lose health, but it's better than somebody finishing their combo on you. So I want to see that in the game too. Obviously they need to have an identical flight system. One that everybody wants is damageable environment. So you need to be able to blow up the planet. So say you're in West City and you throw a death ball at the ground, you need to be able to transition to the destroyed Earth map. I also still want to see to where you can throw people through buildings and the building crumbles, or you throw somebody through a pile of rocks. I want to see all that. And one new thing that I want added, and I don't know if they can really do this, I don't know how much strain it's going to put on the system, but like say you're Goku and you're standing on the ground and you do a Kamehameha, I think that there should be like the super attack should create a trench on the ground. That would be really cool to see, and then especially if they made it to where that trench stayed for the rest of the match. Obviously people are going to want damageable clothing and like scratches and blood to appear whenever you get to low health. That would be really cool. I want unique character interactions. So say you're Vegeta Scouter and you're fighting Goku early. He should say like, you should feel lucky that an elite class warrior is allowing a low class one to fight him. Like that, things like that should be in the game. It kind of spices it up a little bit. Everybody wants a wide costume variety, so like I want the Jackie Chun Master Roshi costume. I want the Vegeta Badman costume. I want all that. I also want to see classic loading screens return to the game. So like you had the mini game where Goku was eating ramen and he would stack up the bowls. You just tap X to get as many bowls as possible, or like Gohan pulling out the Z sword. I want those back in the game too, just to kind of add a nostalgic feeling to the game. I want to see some new additions to the game as well. One of them is failed fusions. So whenever you try to fuse with somebody, like a mini game pops up and you gotta press all the right buttons, and if you don't, like, you turn into like skinny Gotenks or something. I just think that would make fusions feel more rewarding. I also want to see character switch denial, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's just like, say I'm fighting somebody and, you know, they try to switch their characters out. We should go into a clash, and whoever wins, if they win, they get to switch characters, and if I win, I knock them to the ground and I'll say something like, "Where are you going?" I also want to see team ultimate attacks. So say I pick Krillin and then my my two teammates are Saiyan Saga Goku and Kid Gohan. Well, Krillin should have the option to do a team ultimate where Goku gives him a Spirit Bomb and then he throws it, the opponent dodges it, and then Gohan's there to bounce it back. And then it should also do extra damage than just a regular ultimate attack. I want to see dramatic finishes too. So say if I'm Super Vegeta and I use a Final Flash to finish somebody off, well, first the Final Flash should destroy the ground around it, or, you know, whichever direction it goes. And then there should be like there should be a cinematic where you see the Final Flash shooting off into space, and then also maybe they could make it to where the enemy like has a cinematic where they get evaporated. I think that would be really cool. And the last thing, I want to see super attack deflections from Raging Blast. I think that would be cool, and I also want to see wall crushes from Raging Blast. So let's talk about game modes. Obviously, I'm going to want a Dragon History mode, and I want that to include Dragon Ball Z through Dragon Ball Super Broly at launch. And I want R3 to still trigger scenes from the anime like Final Flash or Goku's angry Kamehameha, just like in Tenkaichi 3. I also really don't understand the people who say that they don't want to play the same story mode again. I mean, I'm still going to enjoy it, especially because of how many sagas we'll get to play through, and I can't think of a better alternative anyways. Galaxy mode from Raging Blast 2, maybe? Like, Dragon History is definitely the safer option, and again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Dragon History was a core game mode from the OG Tenkaichi series, and it would be a huge mistake to remove it from the game. Of course, everybody wants an online world tournament mode, and I think that would be really cool, especially since it's never really been done before. It'd be fun to set up a tournament in the Tenkaichi 4 Discord and get everybody in voice chat. The only problem would be like somebody lagging out or quitting, which the developer could just make that person's opponent automatically advance to the next round, and then, you know, they could just spectate other fights while they're waiting. And then obviously we're going to need an offline world tournament mode too, and I'd like to see all the same tournaments come back from Tenkaichi 3. It'd also be cool for online and offline if they could add the Destroyer God tournament style too, where you know, one person starts out the tournament and they keep fighting until they lose. That'd be really cool. The most obvious one is going to be online battle modes and offline battle modes. We're going to need to have single, team, and DP battles for both of those. For online, I want a ranked lobby and an unranked lobby, and then also a private lobby for playing with friends. If they don't include an offline battle mode, I'm going to be really upset because I still want to fight my cousins on Tenkaichi when they come over, just like when we were kids. The last mode that's really important to me is Ultimate Battle. I want a survival mode, which is pretty self-explanatory, but you just pick a character and go up against as many enemies as you can until you die. I also want an arcade mode, which is the same thing as survival, except your health resets after each fight. A lot of people probably don't remember this one, but I want KO Attack from Raging Blast 1 to be an Ultimate Battle too. And the last one for this mode is Mission 100 from Tenkaichi 3. I'd also like to see Evolution Z, Ultimate Training, Summon Shenron, and Dragon Library come back too. Some people have been talking about a Tenkaichi Tag Team mode, and honestly, I don't know how it would work. The problem is that if you have multiple players on the map who can all transform and can all blow up the planet, the cinematics are going to make the fight clunky because you're going to be constantly interrupted. They could do the same thing as Xenoverse and cut cinematics out of this mode, but honestly, that wouldn't really feel like Tenkaichi, and it'd take a lot of punch out of the game. Maybe they could make it work if they only allowed like a 4-player free-for-all and a 2v2 team battle, and at most they could do a 6-player free-for-all with 3v3s, but I really don't know, man. Not to mention, I'd like the developers just to focus on bringing back the core components of the original series and really just try not to do too much in general. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not against it. Like every time I watched the Tenkaichi 1 intro as a kid, where Goku's fighting Kid Buu and at the same time Gohan and Piccolo are fighting Cell, I always wanted a Battle Royale type mode, but I'm not going to advocate for it either because it's just really complicated. So I've made a list of maps that I want to see at launch. I want Kame House, I want Kami's Lookout, I want the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, I want West City, I want the World Tournament Arena, I want the Rocky Area map, I want Glaciers, I want Islands, I want the Wasteland, which that one's always in Dragon Ball games. It's a little bit different each time, but yeah, I want that one. I want the Mountain Road map where Super Saiyan Vegeta fights Android 18. I want the Cell Games Arena, I want Namek, I want Destroyed Namek and Destroyed Earth. These next few ones you're gonna have for the Dragon History, Dragon Ball Super Saga. The Tournament of Power Arena, Universe 6 versus 7 Arena, and Trunks' Future. You're going to need those. And also I want to see Supreme Kai's World and Space too. Now that's a lot of maps. I think that's like 18. So I don't know, if they're going to be able to fit all those in at launch because, I mean, the graphics are really good in this game, so I don't know how long it's going to take them to make each individual map, so that might be a lot to ask for. But I still want to see these maps in the game. So next, let's get into DLC. And as far as the character roster goes, I want to be able to play as everyone I can think of, and I don't think that's unreasonable because I'm willing to pay for it, which is the whole reason Bandai Namco is doing this in the first place. But also because I don't want any of these characters at launch, so there's not really a time constraint either. I think with my at launch roster and this DLC roster, you'd be coming up on like 260 characters, which really blows Tenkaichi 3's roster out of the water. Some people say we're not going to use characters like Monaka or Frieza Soldier. I might not, but I'm still going to pay for it. So for DLC maps, I want Grandpa Gohan's house, I want the Red Ribbon Base, I want Emperor Pilaf's castle, I want Baba's palace, I want the Otherworld Tournament Arena, I want Planet Vegeta, I want the Dark Planet from Raging Blast 2, where it's basically like you're fighting on a moon and you can see like space all around you. That was a really cool arena. You're going to have Planet Tuffle in there, like if you want to do a GT expansion. I want Penguin Village, I want Beerus's Planet, I want Hell, and I also want Muscle Tower. For the Dragon History content DLC, I want to see Dragon Ball, I want to see Dragon Ball GT, I want to see Dragon Ball movies, I want to see the Dragon Ball Super manga with the Moro and Granola arcs, I want to see Dragon Ball specials, and I also want What Ifs. So yeah, that's everything that I want to see out of Tenkaichi 4. I really hope that they put a lot of love into this game because it means a lot to me and a lot of other people. And I think if they do a lot of the things that I talked about today, and they really just keep in mind that this is a new Tenkaichi game, this is not its own thing, they just focus on bringing back all the things that made the series great in the first place, then I think that this could easily be the best Dragon Ball game of all time.